Friday, 13th. Okay, day 3, week 3. So we got 3 weeks done. Web design. First we went over questions, and then we talked about announcements. You can check the announcements each week to see what you should be working on, what we've covered, kind of where we're going. Today we talked about what it takes to create a website, types of websites, did a little more work with HTML. First thing, in fact, I think we'll go to the We talked about the materials you submit. When you look up materials, make sure you're determining if it's fact or opinion. Make sure you evaluate if it's accurate and current. Make sure you reference material that you look up. And you have to be careful about most of the activities where you're looking up material for the course. That should be your comments. You should not be copying comments from the internet. And then you should bring value to these documents. You know, we talk about just doing the task, you know, just wanting to get it done, but bringing more value to it. Okay? We'll talk a little more about files and paths and so forth. We also talked a little bit about learning, change, and grit. You should have completed those, and the next thing we'll be talking about is drive. You need to be open to change, otherwise going over these things wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. Grit, perseverance for the long term, being able then to fail. When we're able to fail, we talk about having a growth mindset. No matter where you are, you can improve. It isn't a level of either you're here or here. Okay, in terms of intelligence, you know, we all have the ability to learn. Growth mindset. And the students, we talked a little bit about being grade driven and task driven. Those aren't necessarily bad. But what we want to do is be knowledge driven. In the world that we're going to live in, what you know and what value you bring will be better than saying you got a certain grade or you can just get tasks done. We talked about file path, where files are, whether it's a hard drive or solid state drive. You need to understand how the path to the files works. Okay? We talked about that in order for your website. Okay, we talked a little bit about content management systems versus writing HTML, cascading style sheets, and JavaScript. We're going to do both. We're going to use WordPress for our content management system. And even though this doesn't have to be the only place, but we're using the Microsoft Development Network to help us learn some coding. And then I showed an example between HTML coding and rich content. The rich content is geared more to a content management system. Alright. So that led us to a couple different things here. Creating a website and maybe some categories of types of websites. How can you have a web presence? Well, social media like Facebook actually allows you to have a web presence. Google allows you to. You can use Wix. You can either use the free part or you can pay. The same thing with Squarespace. These are all examples. Or you can get a server and actually type the HTML. So, for example, we have here on campus, we have a web server running Apache, okay, in which you have a space on there to create your website using HTML. Okay, actually designing it using the HTML. You can create these yourself if you have the expertise, or you can get space somewhere to do the same thing. You can get these through your service provider, or even places like AWS allows you to do that. Yet that, you can do it that way, or all the way up to just getting a content management system. So the first thing is to understand all the possibilities of how you can create a website, and we practice both. We're going to do two of the exchange, where we have a server and HTML, and then we're going to use WordPress for our content management system. Types. There are community builders. That would be a lot of our social media. There's education. You can use, there's websites that are strictly designed for education, whether they're for a college or specific things. All kinds of websites to buy and sell things, whether you use the market feature on Facebook or Craigslist, or all the eBay and all the different ways to do that. We can use, there'll be websites that are for news. This covers more area than you think. Information, like most businesses have a website that just distributes information for the business. So we have lots of places where we go on the internet for information. It's not necessarily education information. Education can really vary in the sites, but gather information. Then we have websites for entertainment, and that's a broad range of entertainment. You can probably make some other categories that are strictly for blogging or whatever, but most categories, a lot of them would fit into one of these areas. So you're going to be creating a website using HTML and so forth, like we talked about earlier, and then the WordPress, you create a website that's going to be geared more to one of these areas. So, as an example, here's a path that developer.mozilla.org. There's links to this inside the learning materials and the assignments, but this is the place we're working right now. We're working through the HTML basics. And you can work on this outside of class, and you can use other resources to find information on HTML. Hopefully this week we'll start working on cascading style sheet basics, and then by midterm or so we'll be getting into some JavaScript basics. And then we do have other resources for these also. That's it.